Linda, thanks. If we come...
Thank you. So AJ, as a child, do we know and understand God?
As a
but
child?
lose it? Yeah, because...
Unfortunately not. Like, let's think about what happens at incarnation. At incarnation, you could say, I don't know myself yet, and I don't know my own feelings yet, and I don't know my own emotions yet, I don't know how to exercise my free will because I've yet to experience life. At the moment of incarnation, where do I enter? I enter the womb of my mother. At that moment, what am I absorbing? I'm absorbing all of my mother's emotions about God, all of my mother's emotions about, and my father's, and eventually as I grow, I'm absorbing his emotions too. So mum and dad's emotions are now being absorbed into, I'm absorbing all of these belief systems that mum have, all of these. So do I really know that God's like this? Does she know? No, she doesn't.
I feel like I've been grieving the loss of God, like I felt like I knew God as a child, but...
Yep. Well, the truth is that most of us have huge amounts of grief about our relationship with God. God did do something for you though. God placed in your soul this little spark. And I don't call it a divine spark, because the only time the divine spark enters you is when divine love enters you. But it's this spark of wanting to know everything about yourself and everything about who created you. And that spark has been suppressed and suppressed and suppressed over generations of time. So much so that many of us now don't even believe in God at all. Right? We don't even want to think that God exists even. But the truth is, inside of us, there is this spark that you're feeling a bit about. But a lot of the emotion you're feeling right now is your parents' emotion of loss about a relationship with God, not having one. Feeling something outside. We all feel something is outside of us, but we don't know how to connect to it. So there's going to be a feeling of loss associated with that. Yeah? But the truth is, at the beginning of our incarnation, we are not aware of God. We're not self-aware of God. That develops in us due to this spark that God has placed in us. It's exactly the same kind of spark that God has placed in us towards our soulmate. God also has that in play. So what it feels like inside of yourself is that when God enters you, when God's love enters you, for the first time in your life, you feel satisfied about this hole being met. Does that make sense? And when the love of your soulmate enters you, you'll, for the second time of your life, feel another hole being met. Does that make sense? Because there are these two vacant areas, if you like, inside of your soul, ready to be met by only one being. But what we finish up doing as humans with that is we finish up chasing other ways to meet that hole. So a lot of us, chase sex, or we chase alcohol, chase drugs, we chase all sorts of things, chasing something. In reality, all we're doing is actually trying to fill the hole that we have with God with something else. Most of the time that's what we're doing. And the same applies to our relationship with our soulmate. Often we'll be chasing a person or chasing individuals, and again, often chasing sex and other things like that, to fill a hole of a fulfilling relationship with our soulmate. So the truth is, in our soul, there is a recognition that these two things can be developed. And there is a spark of both of them inside of us. And it's that spark, even for sixth-sphere spirits, that eventually get a sixth-sphere spirit off the natural love path and onto a divine love path. When you actually talk to them about, have you noticed this feeling of dissatisfaction that's still there present in you? And the truth is that this feeling of dissatisfaction will be present in us until we have that relationship. It will remain. The feeling of dissatisfaction in a human relationship towards our partner will remain until we have a soulmate relationship. Right? And the feeling of dissatisfaction towards God will remain until the relationship with God is fulfilled. Yeah? So that is very true. But the grief you're feeling is related to your parents' grief. Does that make sense? Because you wouldn't feel grief about it if you knew it was available to you. Do you understand?
It just feels like I had it and then I lost it because of just my environment. And
yeah, but that's your parents' grief about the loss of love. And all of the human race have huge amounts of emotions about the loss of love in their life.
From God.
Not just from God.
So just love in general.
Love in
It's not
general,
to do
love
with
from
God.
everyone.
Yeah.
We arrive into almost, well, in comparison, compared to where we're going to go, we arrive in almost a loveless society. We arrive in a very codependent, addictive, loveless society, and it's very, very hard to cope with emotionally, isn't it? Have you found this easy process of arriving in this place? I don't know about that. I haven't found it that easy myself, you know. But what I'm trying to illustrate to you is that God has put everything in place for this relationship to occur. She has already made it. Everything available to you to have this relationship with her.